You walk down a street, any street, and without meaning to, your gaze catches someone's. It lingers half a second too long, and your mind goes 1,000 directions. Are they friendly? Threatening? Interested? Why did their stare feel heavy? And before your brain organizes that mess, your shoulders tense just a little, and your heart beats just a little faster. Welcome to the theater of social instinct. See, it's not just about predator and prey anymore. Now that you've climbed the ladder of civilization, well, kind of, you still carry the ancient codes, but they've slipped into new disguises. The growl has become gossip. The challenge has become shade. The pack hierarchy? Oh, it's alive and well, especially in office meetings and group chats. In fact, humans are some of the most socially tuned animals to ever exist. You read facial expressions like a supercomputer, even if you don't realize it. A twitch of the lip, a furrowed brow, an awkward silence. Your brain absorbs it all, matching it against your own vast archive of what this probably means. And you learned it early. Infants as young as 6 months can detect emotional tones. By toddlerhood, you're already mimicking tone to survive socially. Not to get all National Geographic on you, but that's some real primate behavior. Just watch chimps in the wild. They manage friendships, forge alliances, and yes, throw tantrums. Sound familiar? They even reconcile after fights with gestures and grooming. Meanwhile, your version is texting up at 1:37 a.m. Close enough. There's a reason we call some people alpha or talk about pecking orders. That's language borrowed from the animal kingdom, because guess what? Those rules didn't disappear when we put on pants. In fact, some argue they got more complex. Take a corporate ladder. It's not so different from a wolf pack. The top dog gets the best resources. Corner office, anyone? While those lower down navigate tension and ambition with a keen sense of timing. One wrong move and you're out of the circle, socially exiled. You might not get bitten, but you'll definitely be left off the invite. But don't take this as cynical. There's beauty in this mess too. The ability to bond, to read subtle signs, to empathize, those are survival tools sharpened over millennia. A dog may love you, but it doesn't feel awkward about interrupting your shower. You, on the other hand, hesitate before calling someone because what if they're busy? What if you're too much? You care because you need others to care back. It's built in. Even animals crave that. Elephants mourn their dead. Dolphins have names. Rats laugh. No, really, they emit ultrasonic giggles when tickled. And you? You build friendships over shared playlists and memes, but it's the same old hunger for connection, the need to belong. And when you don't? When you feel alone in a crowd or overlooked in a group chat, that pain isn't just emotional, it's biological. Studies show that social rejection activates the same part of your brain as physical pain, which means a cold shoulder literally hurts. So you adapt. You mirror people's gestures. You nod even when you don't agree. You find ways to navigate status and keep your place in the group. And sometimes you push too hard. The same way a beta chimp might puff itself up, hoping the group notices. Of course, you have tools animals don't. Language, culture, emojis. But the dance is the same. Who's in? Who's out? Who leads? Who follows? Even the concept of love, yes, the big one, is deeply tied to animal behavior. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, surges in both mothers and lovers, in dogs and their humans. You're not falling in love like a poet, you're bonding like a mammal. And just like your animal cousins, you can be possessive, jealous, territorial, but also loyal, protective, willing to share your last slice of pizza, even if it hurts. So don't pretend you've transcended the wild. You haven't. You've just dressed it up with coffee dates and job interviews. Beneath your curated aesthetic is a heart that still races for belonging, a voice that softens for comfort, and eyes that scan constantly for safety or welcome. You're social because your ancestors who weren't didn't make it. The ones who wandered alone got eaten. The ones who stayed near the fire, who laughed, shared, and listened, they're your bloodline. And in that sense, you're not so different from the wolves circling under the moonlight or the pod of whales singing through the deep. You're just adding your own verse to the old, old song. You're dreaming of ancient plains now. Tall grass brushing against your legs as your ancestors squat in a loose circle, eyes darting between the firelight and the shadows beyond. There's a rustle, maybe wind, maybe not. Your great everything leans in, breath held, waiting for some signal that it's safe or not. Because fear kept your bloodline alive. Let's not sugarcoat it. Fear is your evolutionary bestie. It's the adrenaline rush whisper that tells you run when there's a crash behind you, or freeze when the vibe in a room shifts. You inherited that sensitivity from animals who depended on hyper-awareness to dodge predators, venom, and bad decisions. And it's still very much alive in your lizard brain. A deer hears a twig snap and bolts. A meerkat sees a shadow and dives. And you feel a ping of anxiety when your boss says, "Can we talk?" Same nervous system, new threat. Here's the twist. Fear doesn't just protect, it teaches. Animals learn from close calls. You do too. Burn your hand on a hot stove, and next time, you hover like it's radioactive. Misspeak in a meeting, and you'll rehearse your words for a week straight. This is your brain forging survival tactics out of every little misstep. And if you've ever sat awake at 3:14 a.m. reliving a 7th grade embarrassment, congratulations! You've experienced a uniquely human upgrade, social fear. It's not the lion that gets you anymore. It's the judgment, the eye roll, the whisper that might not even be about you. But what if it is? Animals don't worry about what someone tweeted. You do. And yet, while fear can be overwhelming, it's also one of your most intimate bridges to the animal world. Think of a rabbit trembling in tall grass, heart thudding at the scent of fox. Think of a soldier in a trench, scanning for motion in the dark. Think of yourself, standing in the kitchen after hearing a thump upstairs when you're home alone. Same tension, same breath holding, same primal choreography of survival. Interestingly, some animals don't just react to fear, they signal it. Bees release alarm pheromones. Dogs bare teeth and lower ears. You get goosebumps, a leftover response from when you had fur to puff up. Cute, right? Even blushing, that awkward crimson betrayal of your secrets, is a social signal. Hey, I know I messed up. Please don't exile me. It's vulnerability made visible. And scientists still argue whether it's a biological glitch or a feature of social trust. But either way, it means your body speaks fear before you can even form a sentence. But not all fear is bad. That edge of your seat tension when the movie villains in the hallway, that rush before jumping into a cold pool, fear repackaged as thrill. Roller coasters, horror flicks, spicy food. You chase the shadow of danger, knowing it's safe. Animals don't ride roller coasters, but they do play. That's right, some species flirt with risk just like you do. Otters slide down muddy banks. Crows surf wind currents. Wolves wrestle and fake bite in elaborate pretend battles. It's not about survival. It's about building skills, testing limits, and yes, chasing joy. Your fear, like theirs, is a toolkit. It sharpens your reflexes, builds caution, teaches consequences. But left unchecked, it can become a cage. Animals know when to let go. A gazelle that escapes a cheetah shakes it off, literally, and moves on. You might replay that awkward dinner conversation until the end of time. That's where things get complicated. Your advanced brain means you can anticipate fear, imagine it, multiply it, and, unfortunately, never turn it off. An animal senses danger, reacts, and resets. You worry about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. It's why people fear public speaking more than death. You're not afraid of the stage. You're afraid of rejection, of exile, of silence after the punchline. And that loops us right back to Section 5's social survival. Fear and belonging are two sides of the same coin. But here's the final twist. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving with it. Animals do it every day. A penguin dives into freezing water. A mother bear charges a wolf. You speak your truth. You step onto that plane. You ask someone to dance. You, fragile yet fearless. You, wired to tremble but also to leap. You're the descendant of creatures that knew when to run and when to roar. You shake, but you show. You're perched now on the edge of a memory you didn't know you had, curled beside a warm body in the dark, heart sinking with another heartbeat. It could be your dog, your lover, your best friend back in grade school during a sleepover. There's a stillness, a calm, and underneath it all, the ancient ache of connection. Because connection isn't just a luxury, it's survival. Let's rewind about 60 million years. The early mammals, small, furry, anxious things, had a plan. Stick together. Unlike reptiles, who laid eggs and pieced out, mammals nursed their young, groomed them, protected them, and that required a whole new level of bonding. Cue oxytocin, the hormone of cuddles, trust, and I gotcha. You've probably felt it after hugging someone for more than 20 seconds, or watching a toddler giggle, or locking eyes with a golden retriever who just knows you're sad. That's not random. That's your brain saying, stay close. This matters. Animals crave connection too. Elephants hold funerals. Cows have best friends. Rats laugh. No, really, they emit ultrasonic giggles when tickled. You might be top of the food chain, but emotionally, you're still chasing the same feeling a chimp gets when its mom grooms its fur. Remember when you were a kid and you got separated from your parent in a crowded place? That pulse-pounding panic? That's attachment, one of the strongest forces in the mammal playbook. And it doesn't just vanish with age. You still long to belong, to be known, to be held, even if your adult self disguises it as sarcasm, or overworking, or pretending you're just not that emotional. And honestly, loneliness, it's one of the most brutal sensations humans endure, not because you're weak, but because your nervous system is wired to panic when connection drops. To your ancient brain, isolation equals danger, abandonment, death. Birds flock, wolves run in packs, dolphins have names, yes, signature whistles they use to identify each other. And you have contact lists, comment sections, and the bizarre urge to send a meme instead of saying, I miss you. Scholars still argue whether digital connection can ever match physical closeness. Can a heart emoji replace a hug? Can late-night Discord chats stave off the ache of real presence? Maybe, maybe not. But your brain will try, because anything is better than nothing when you're wired for tribe. Now, let's talk about one of the purest forms of connection, eye contact. When a dog stares into your eyes with those "you're my whole universe" pupils, oxytocin spikes, for both of you. That's mutual mammal magic. It's why you instinctively avert your gaze from strangers on the subway, but lock eyes during a first kiss. It's intimate, raw, risky. In the wild, eye contact can be invitation or threat. For gorillas, too much of it equals fight. For humans, depends. Some cultures see it as respect, others see it as rude. But the truth is, eye contact makes things real, and sometimes that's terrifying. So you invent all kinds of detours, texts, filters, reactions, emotional armor that lets you reach out without fully showing up. But animals, they don't play those games. When a cat curls into your lap or a horse nuzzles your shoulder, that's it. No double meanings, just presence. And let's not forget grief, connection's twin. When animals lose one of their own, they mourn. Orcas carry their dead calves. Dogs whimper for weeks after a loss. You too have cried into pillows, scrolled through old messages, clutched a shirt that still smelled like someone who left too soon. Grief is love with nowhere to go. And love It's not some fluffy afterthought. It's the glue that kept your ancestors from abandoning each other, that made them share fire, food, stories. It's what made survival sustainable, and today it still makes life bearable. But here's the part that might sting a little. You're more emotionally honest with your pets than with most people. You tell your dog, "I love you," 10 times a day. You whisper secrets to your cat. You weep openly when your hamster dies. But with people, you ghost, you joke, you swallow whole galaxies of feeling rather than say, "Hey, I need you." Why? Maybe because animals don't judge, don't betray, don't make love conditional. With them, you get to be fully human, messy, moody, magnificent. That's rare. And maybe that's why the bond runs so deep. You don't just like animals, you recognize yourself in them, in their loyalty, their mischief, their silences, their eyes that say, "You matter." So, if tonight you're curled up under a blanket, missing someone or something that once made your world feel warm, know this: connection isn't gone. It's changed. You wake to a rustle in the grass. Somewhere nearby, a branch snaps, slow and deliberate. Your pulse quickens, not from danger, but from that primal sense. You're not alone out here. Welcome to the wild, where every shadow hums with ancient instinct, and survival is more than muscle. It's intelligence, strategy, and adaptation. Tonight, you and the animals step into the realm of problem solving. Let's start with the crows. You think you're clever? Try dropping a peanut in a traffic lane and waiting for cars to crack it open, then swoop down during red lights to retrieve the goods. That's crow logic. Urban scavengers with PhDs in mischief. They recognize faces. They hold grudges. They gift shiny objects to kind humans. And some scientists even call them feathered apes. Meanwhile, you, clever ape that you are, spend hours trying to remember where you left your keys, or Googling how to boil an egg for the 3rd time. Problem solving in the animal kingdom isn't just practical, it's emotional. Dogs fake injuries to get attention. Octopuses escape sealed jars. Elephants cooperate to retrieve food in ways that require understanding each other's roles. And, just like you, they learn by trial and error, watch others, and even hesitate before making a tough decision. Remember that time you hesitated before texting someone back? Same neural network as a chimp choosing which branch will support its weight. Here's a quirky tidbit. In the 1960s, a dolphin named Peter was taught to mimic human speech as part of a NASA experiment. Historians still argue whether it was groundbreaking science or a deeply weird case of emotional manipulation. But one thing is clear: humans are obsessed with making animals think like them. And sometimes, they already do. You've heard of tool use, chimps with sticks, dolphins with sponges, but did you know New Caledonian crows can fashion hooked tools from twigs, even improving on the original design? That's not just mimicry, that's innovation. And innovation? That's your species' signature move, from fire to flight to the phone you're holding right now. But the truth is, animals innovate too. They adapt to cities, learn our schedules, even ride public transportation. Pigeons navigate subways. Raccoons open locked bins. There's a fox in London that waits for pub doors to open so it can scavenge fries. Respect. So what separates you from them? Not much. The same brain structures that govern decision-making in humans, amygdala, hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, exist in most mammals. Sure, yours is bigger, but size isn't everything. Some birds outperform toddlers on memory tests. What's different is how you use it. Humans imagine futures, project hypotheticals, worry about things that might never happen. That's a blessing and a curse. Animals, they're zen, immediate, but don't mistake that for stupidity. A cheetah calculating distance, a beaver building against flood patterns, a cat deciding whether to forgive you for skipping dinner. These are choices based on data, emotion, and experience. You've been told, don't anthropomorphize. Don't project human feelings onto animals. But maybe that advice goes both ways. Maybe it's time to see that your intelligence has wild roots, that your rational decisions come wrapped in instinct and gut feeling. Remember that time you just knew something was wrong without evidence? That's intuition, something animals rely on constantly. Birds sense earthquakes. Dogs detect cancer. Elephants flee tsunami zones before humans even blink. You ignore your gut. Animals live by it. And while we're on it, imagine a wolf at the head of a snowy trail, sniffing the air, weighing the wind, calculating the steps ahead. That's not just instinct, that's strategy. Wolves test fences. Apes negotiate alliances. Ants build complex farming systems underground. And yes, some cats learn to open doors only when no one is looking. But perhaps the most striking problem-solving moment of all? That time your dog brought you a stick when you were sad. Not to play fetch, just to offer something. As if to say, I don't know what's wrong, but I want to help. Animals solve puzzles not only with brains, but with empathy. So, if you're staring down a tough decision tonight, unsure of your next step, maybe take a note from the wild. Pause, listen, trust your senses. Look at the problem sideways. Remember that not every solution comes from brute force. Sometimes it comes from watching, from waiting, from kindness. Because, let's face it, your ancestors didn't just survive by thinking harder. They